Welcome back to Claudette's Craft Corner. I've finally gotten to it. I am working on my quilt sandwich and I'm about to baste it. Now, one issue I have is I'm realizing that this can feels super light. So I'm not sure how much basting this is. This is spray and bond basting adhesive, sewable. Great for sewing, quilting, embroidery, pattern piecing, eliminates pinning, will not gum up needle. Temporary bond. Yeah, I don't know how much is in here. I think the stuff is usually pretty light anyways, but might not come out of the can, so I may have to go to pin basting. Okay, but we'll see how far we get. So here's what I have. I'm being very careful not to lean too much because I have this position just right. I think what I'm going to do so that you can see better is I'm going to take the camera out of the holder and put it right down on the project. Okay, so here is what I've done. So this is the bottom piece. This is felted, sort of a checkered gingham look to it. And it's very soft, just like felt. And that has gone down first, face down. And this middle piece is just some flat batting. I think this is called Soft and Warm. I think there is a company to that, but I don't have the packaging anymore, so I can't remember exactly what it was. But I did get it out of Joann's. I do remember that. Okay, so, and then, of course, the quilt top, which I do have to trim these little threads off. All right, so basically what I've been doing is just each part, putting it down nice and flat and getting it as flat as possible, and just pushing out from the middle out with my hands. The flatter it is, the better it'll come out. Now, I have noticed, and this is because, like I've said before, I am in no way a professional on on quilting. I do consider myself a beginner. I am getting better with each project. But see right here, we've got where it's sort of, I don't want to say overlap, but it's you know, there's a pucker here. And I'm going to have to do the best I can to try and flatten or straighten that out as I go. Especially with the quilting. Now, I don't do the free motion quilting on my small machine, just because I'm not comfortable with it yet. Eventually what I would like to do is, oops, there we go, is work with these rulers. They're sort of free motion rulers. I forgot what this pattern, I think it's a meander, I think it was called. But basically, you start in one section, and then you have to have a special foot for this, or just a quilting foot. And you go around, you would be moving it like this, go around, and then flip the ruler, and then start over here. And then go around and just keep doing it until you get all the way across your project. Or I think you can do it up and down as well, but you kind of have to stick to one direction once you start. So I want to do some smaller projects and try to work with these rulers. I don't want to do that in this one. So this is going to be either a straight line quilt, or I'm going to use one of the fancy stitches on my machine and just put it in a straight mode where I just, you know, up, down, across. Excuse me. So projects for the future, but that's eventually what I'd like to get to. And then eventually I'd like to be able to do that kind of quilting on my projects without the use of the ruler. I just felt that the rulers might help me just get used to moving it on the machine. Other thing is, I do not have a tabletop that attaches to my machine to make it easier to move the fabric around. So just sort of learning this in little steps. So right now I'm just sort of sticking to the fancy stitches on the machine and just like a straight line quilting to get this project done. This one is almost a year in the making because I believe I started it almost a year ago, if not a year ago. So, okay, so with that being said, let's see. All right, I think I'm going to put this back up on the stand. And we'll see just how much adhesive spray is still left in my can here. All right. Okay. Now, the thing to remember with this basting spray, and I've noticed from watching other videos, and I have done it myself, be very careful with the basting spray. Extremely careful. Because I found out the hard way. I did a project just like this, similar to this, and I had it up here on the table, and I probably used, I think I went over it just a little too much. Very little of this goes a long way. Probably why the can is almost empty. But what ended up happening was I got a little bit of overspray. I was just spraying the project, but I think I should just stay within the middle more. Because what ended up happening was I probably went right to the edges and spraying here, and then I got overspray. My machine was sitting here, and the table had this like tacky, sticky stuff on it for a while. Took a while before it wore off, and now everything's nice and smooth again. So you have to be very careful how much of the basting spray that I'm using. All right. Yeah, I hear a little bit in here, but not much. All right, so the best way I believe to do this is we take the top piece, and the reason I'm not going to baste between this the backing and the middle batting piece is both of those are pretty felted, and they tend to stick to each other. And once you put those together and you're pressing them out like this, it ain't gonna move. At least I hope it doesn't. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna peel this back, the top, because that's what I'm most concerned about, it not moving. So I put that back a little ways. All right, and I probably did too much, but all right. Get that down carefully. Start from the middle, working my way up. Okay. All right, and just keep pressing from the middle, flattening and pressing. And I do realize I am seeing that I am probably going to have little pucker pieces here and there. That's okay. I'll work with it. Now, okay. Probably, okay. So it has stuck a little bit here. It's pulling. It's okay, Tiggy. Oh, my kitty's a little scared of the spray sound. All right. So it didn't grab the corners because I was trying to stick in the middle. But I think when the can is fresh, it will stick better. Yeah, same thing on this corner. Okay. All right, so I feel pretty good about that. It's just this last couple inches here, but this centerpiece right here, this is all nice and stuck together. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tripod back a little bit. And if this is too much movement, I probably will edit and try to take the moving out. And I know that my cat really is dying to jump up on the table, so she probably will try to do that. So now I'm just going to shift everything again. And here she comes. Hi, Tiggy. You can't stay here. I'm sorry, but you can't stay here right now. I know she's going to plant herself. Oh, for goodness sake. Really? How do I get any work done with you? Oh my goodness. Hi. Yeah. Oh, I know. And then you just give me that look like, no, come on, pet me, love me. I know. Yeah. Little girl. Oh, and I can hear you purring. Don't do that. Continuing. So now I am just going to keep rolling this back. Just like that, right to the edge. And I'm going to put it on pretty good, hoping that I'm not going to get too much overspray on everything else around me. All right, I know, surprisingly, that can has as much as it had in it. I think that's all I got for basting spray. I'm happy though, because I like the basting spray better than the pinning. Okay, so there, here. All right, so all right. And frankly, I think it will have a few puckers in it, but I believe this is pretty good compared to the last one I did. Like I said, I see my improvement each time I do these. So I am pretty happy with this. Now, the other thing I think I forgot to mention is that when you make your quilt sandwich, you want to make sure that the batting and backing is at least, I would say, 1 to 2 inches bigger than your quilt top. So that when you're working with it on your machine and you're quilting, if it pulls together, pushes it outward, because you're going to work in the middle, work your way out. So it might take a little bit more than you think. So that's why this is so much bigger. And then just before we bind it, I am going to trim everything right to the edge, and then we'll have these little extra pieces and things. But right now this is looking pretty good. A little bit of lint. So I'm going to push this upward. Okay, and it looks like I have a piece, or I need to add a piece. Okay. So this was the only batting that I had. So now let's see. I need to work on this. All right, so how much? So if we bring this down here. All right, so I have enough of this section. All right. Okay. And pushing that outward. A little bit of an area there. Okay. So now the inner batting comes up to about here. And then the top piece comes here. So I have a piece, I would say maybe 20 inches by 6 inches. And what I could do is trim a piece of this off, and that looks to be about just the right size. So I think that might be what I'm gonna do. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna piece it right here and just plop it right down so that when I go to spray baste it, that piece will already be in there and it'll just become part of the batting. Don't have to attach it or anything. I'm just going to butt it right up against this one. Actually, I'm going to trim this piece. There's my scissors. Trim this piece off here. And that's a small piece. I don't think I'm going to need that. All right. Now, I want to try and still have a little bit of overlap so that I have that allowance when I go to quilt, so that it should not be an issue. Okay. All right, now it's only coming out half the time here, so I think I'm just gonna make it without having to pin anything. Yep, that is the end of that can. So, all right, bring this down. Okay. All right, now before pressing down, you want to try and make sure that you're placed just about where you want to be. Because once you press down, it does say temporary hold and it will lift, but you don't want to keep picking it up, especially since I have pieced so much here, and I really don't want to. I don't want to lift the smaller pieces because then that's just going to be difficult. And I'm pretty happy with that. I feel a slight bit of overspray, but nothing like it was. So that works nice. All right, so I think what I'm going to do now, this is all flattened out. I don't feel really any puckering, but I'm sure once I start to quilt, because I think that's what happened on the last quilt. Once I started the, once I started the quilting, I felt it just started pushing things together, and it really just started puckering and all over the place. So, and actually I'm almost thinking maybe because I didn't have a lot of basting spray here at the end, I feel like it didn't hold as well. So I may just come across and pin the corners at least. So that will help keep it in place. All right, so first thing here I'm going to do is, I'm not going to trim right to the edge. I'm just going to trim, I'm going to stand up here. I'm going to trim this really large piece off the bottom, just to make it a little bit easier to work with. So I thought this video would be interesting from a beginner perspective. It's like I say, I still consider myself a beginner. In this way, you can see the problems and the things I have to learn along the way. You can see that. A lot of times you see people doing these videos and things, and they know what they're doing. They've been doing it a very long time. They're really great at what they do. I want to get to that point. But this is kind of, you know, how I'm you know, looking at it where I'm, you know, I had to piece a section in. I have had to do that in the past, just because what I had to work with wasn't quite enough. And it looks like I must have cut a chunk out for another project, a smaller one, and that's why this one was looking like this. Alright, so I think I'm going to end this video here. I think this is over 20 minutes at this, 27 minutes. So I'm probably going to be doing a lot of editing because I think there's quite a few points there that you don't need to sit and watch all of that. But it's looking great. Both sides, I see it's quite flat. I see it looks slightly ripply back here, so it's going to make for an interesting texture once I do the machine quilting. So that will likely be what the next video is. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to pin the corners and probably get it ready for machine quilting. I don't know if I'll get that done today. Probably not today. But it will be another video, hopefully in the very near future. I know I've said that before, but I'm working on it. So please like and subscribe. I haven't decided what my next project's going to be. I actually have quite a few different ideas. What to work on next. Some thoughts on maybe some... what I'd really like to do is have placemats and do some nice placemats for each month of the year, so I can change them out on my table upstairs, and just go with a theme. Like, if, for instance, January, I would probably do like a winter or wonderland type theme. You know, September would be like the beginning of fall, be the end of summer, beginning of fall, kind of the things that I think of when I think of each month of the year. So it may not necessarily be other things, you know, people think of when they think of September or October. So I just kind of want to go with that. Another thought that I had, hi George, was I want to make myself a nice big quilt. But I think for my next projects, I think I want to do something smaller. I want to get a couple small projects done. These large ones, I love doing these, and to me this is large. I do love doing these, but they are extremely time consuming, and I get a little more satisfaction if I do some small ones in between. I think that would be good. And still working on a process for doing the rigid heddle. Now it's very nice outside. I've been doing some gardening out there, doing lots of different things. There's never enough time in the day, and I have way too many hobbies. Oh God, yeah, that's my biggest problem. Too many hobbies and not enough time in the day. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.